All right, next day, a little bit of update. We're getting some progress made. Got a few wires pulled. Got a little panel that is supplied with the kit that we powder coated.
It covers
pull
that hole right there.
It gave us plenty of wire. This goes to the headlight, and it's it's about 10 feet longer than we need. And then Mike's been working on the back of the dash. Back of the dash was a mess before.
Yeah, so it's got a Dakota digital dash. So we have to find a place to mount the Dakota digital module pieces. So I put them over here. They'll be permanently mounted there, and then there'll be wires that run from that to a main connector that you could just unplug the connector and pull the dash as a module in the future. Instead of having all wires going everywhere and you got to figure out what to unplug, it'll just be one main connector. Unplug it, dash will come out if it ever needed to.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll never need to come out again, but
Probably.
if it did, it'll be very serviceable.
And then we got a ground lug.
Yeah, ground lug, because there's nowhere good to ground anything under the dash, and it had a bunch of self-tapping screws where everything grounded before. So there'll be a main battery ground cable coming through to this lug, and then all the dash grounds and anything that's in the car that needs to be grounded will be grounded there. So then when you want to pull the dash out, you just take the one lug off, and the dash will come out. All
So
the
these were
grounds will
just
stay.
laying in there before.
They were just laying in there before.
Not even
Yep.
zip tied, just stuffed in there in
Just
that rat's nest we showed
stuffed
you.
in there and not very nicely.
So that'd be cool. Yeah, all these will be, instead of having to cut them all,
It'll be all to
everything
a connector.
will be to a connector, and then obviously the headlight will have its own connector.
Yep.
So pop that off, one wire, whole dash comes out.
And it's cool because there's actually a dash cap that goes on it that's held on by these screws here and then these two. Take all those screws out, the cap comes off, and all this would be serviceable from inside.
Oh yeah.
So you could actually get to this no problem from the inside with just 6 or 8 screws taken out of the dash cap, lift it off, and you'd have access to
Oh my gosh,
the
it's
panels.
gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be pretty cool. Very serviceable.
So I'm working on the trunk. Got some junk in the trunk. And what we did back here, get my light on. So I mounted a ground underneath here. Yeah, there's really not much to see. I just bolted I don't even know if I picked that up, but I bolted a ground cable to the frame itself. Obviously took the paint off first. And this is the cable for that. So we have a little distribution block for the ground. So now all the grounds can go in there. So the amp is grounded nice. So before it had a 8 gauge wire in there. So it had 4 gauge going in, which was this one, and then 8 gauge ground, which isn't good. So you have to match those two up.
With a self-tapping screw right to there.
Oh, actually, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was an 8 gauge with a self-tapping screw into this nice undercoated
And then,
piece of equipment there.
The ground wire for the fuel pump that is here. That's the one that was tapped and screwed into the floor. That was loose. That was going into powder coating too. So now this ground is extended and put onto this cool little bus here. This is the way we do all of our stuff with dune buggies. And so now whatever you want to hook up, we got tons of grounds to be able to screw in little ones or bigger lugs on here. It just makes it super clean. So he already loomed up that wire. I think I showed you guys. That's all going to the tail light. So all this will get loomed up the same way. Even though you'll never see it, we know it's there, and that's the kind of work we do. So all this will be cleaned up, straightened up, loomed out, and you won't see any of that stuff. And then of course all that interior goes back in there. He has all these panels So progress is getting made. Yeah, super nice. Just very time consuming, huh, Mike?
Very time consuming.
What you got
Oh, did you
going
show
on
them the
it?
line lock?
Oh yeah,
It's got a little line lock action
got
going
a
on.
line lock in there. Well, it had the line lock, but it was literally just a switch. That switch right there, just in the center console hanging. So you'd actually have to reach in there, grab the switch, fondle around, find the switch, and then push it to hit the line lock. Whoops. Hold on. So now it's just sitting there. So you can just have your hand right there and then boop, just hit the line lock. That's gonna be cool. So he's starting to work on the wiring in here, that's the hard part. Just trying to figure out all the different circuits. I mean, obviously they're labeled, but there's more to it than just jamming a wire in there. You have to have ignition power and battery power. So we're going over and kind of looking at the schematic, which is actually a pretty nice schematic. We're laying everything out and trying to figure out if we're going to need an extra little power relay board or not, but we're working on it. So that's our update. So we should have the trunk buttoned up here in a few moments. Just laying the speaker in there. This is all loomed up. Looking rather well. Super nice. Even though you're not going to see it, we want it to look nice. So we bought these little ends that crimp on there, and then those will go in the speaker. The speaker's just a little push button deal. But there's a little cover on that side. So everything is starting to go back together. Like I said, we'll have this trunk buttoned up in no time, but once it's buttoned up, you can't see what we did behind it. So it's looking marvelous. Simply marvelous. Really not a whole lot to update. Just starting to lay wires. This is all the lighting wires, just kind of loosely wrapped them up. It's all going to get sheathed. Big sheath is going to go over everything. We still have a tremendous amount of wires to come out still, but there's a little panel back there. This is going to go back, so got one plug done. He's got HIDs on here, so there's actually a little converter that plugs into here. So that's done, and the marker lights are done on this side. Here's the horn wire. It needs to get wrapped up in there, and then this will go along underneath here, and then I need to start on this. And then we'll have some wires going back because we have some relays that are going to go under here with the little bracket that I made. So yeah, at this point it's just a bunch of tedious laying things down. Let's see what old Mr. Mike's up to. What you got going on over here?
Oh, we're just getting the back of the dash wired up to make it a modular unit so it can come in and out with just a plug. So these two so far will be the main plugs. Everything's going to run across to the Dakota Digital modules. That way they could just unplug the dash, be able to take it out of the car as an assembly instead of messing with every individual wire that has to go on there.
That's gonna be cool.
So I'm doing right now I'm doing the fuel sender wire. Nice Ron Francis stuff, has stuff right on it, so it's going to go in the fuel sender and come across and be populated in this connector here as well.
Let's show these folks how those little pins work. Those are
Yeah,
cool.
so that's what I was getting ready to do right now, is put a ferrule, a little ferrule. So we know that this is like an 18 gauge size wire. So that is going to be the gray one. Potentially.
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 If it don't fit,
If it don't fit, get the next
it's potentially the
size
wrong
up.
one.
Yeah, no, it's 18 gauge. And then once it's up in there, then you would just use the appropriate crimpers. Put them on there. Crimp it down. And then that's going to go
How does it crimp it?
in there.
Is it like a little?
It's a square.
Oh, wow.
So this is a small one, so it's hard to see the dimensions of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns it into a square and makes it so
Oh yeah.
if you just put bare wire in there, it just kind of squishes it and frays it.
Right.
A ferrule makes it a lot solid connection.
And then the square gives it a flat to.
Yeah, so the
So it
screw
doesn't spin and come loose.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so cool.
nice good connection, long lasting and durable.
Got our another ground bus
Yep.
bar over here.
So this dash, shiny as
plastic.
it is made out of plastic.
Yeah.
So it does have metal frameworks. So it is not a good grounding place. So I put a ground block on here. There'll be a main battery ground cable running to this. So when you do have to take the dash out with the cap off, you'll be able to reach in, undo one screw. That ground will come off, and then a couple plugs, and the dash will come right out with everything still attached.
Look at you.
So it'll be nice.
Awesome idea. Use the Deutsch connectors over here. 2 plugs, and then I think you
Oh, yeah,
gotta
headlight switch.
undo the headlight switch. You would just pop that off. Or are you gonna wire that in too?
No, that'll just be the
Yeah,
switch.
that'll just pop that off. But still, this thing took us like a half hour to get out because we had to reach
there's
back
wires.
and unplug stuff.
And wires were running around brackets and
They had a wire going through this hole down there, and there was no connector, so it absolutely had to be cut just to get the dash out. So you really don't want to have to cut wires and solder stuff back together just to get your dash in and out. Although the dash doesn't need to come in and out very often, but still it's pretty slick. I like it a lot. Tools of the trade.
tools
We got
of the
lots
trade.
of them. Got a Deutsch connector box over here. And we'll buy these little eyelets and little butt connector boxes. So everything that we use is non-insulated. So this is your butt connectors. You just crimp those on, then put nice thick marine style heat shrink over it, which has a glue in there, and it closes it all up. So this joint right here they did is kind of nasty, but it worked. But the funny thing is that they tried to put this heat shrink over it, and I think they put it on too fast, and this was still hot, and it started shrinking because this ended up just being taped. And the problem with the regular electrical tape is that it does have a tendency to come off. If it gets hot, the glue will start undoing, and that's a major cause for a short to ground right there, that big old exposed thing. So all of our stuff's going to be heat shrunk, so it's really going to be impossible for that to happen. So yeah, this is a lot of the old junk that we took out. There was wires spliced upon wires, sliced upon wires. This one right here was all spliced together with another splice on the other side. We had one connector that had 3 different color wires. I don't know if I caught that. Oh, here it is right here, actually. Yeah, this one. So this one has blue and white and black going into orange and black, and then that went into red and green. So it had 3 different butt connectors with 3 different colors, all within a 6-inch span, when they could have just used 2 wires and connected them right here. So just silly stuff like that. We run into that before with the sand rail that we wired up in a 3-foot span in the trunk in the back, where there were 22 butt connectors. Absolutely ridiculous. So, yep, that's it. We will continue. All right, looks like Mr. Mike is done with this. So as we said before, it's going to be a little modular unit that can all be pulled with just a couple simple plugs. So you literally just finish this, and then he's going to start working on the actual end of the dash part. So there's one plug here. This is going to be for power because we have the fuse box over here on the side of the car. So you'll unplug this, unplug one little plug here, got a couple little plugs here, and then one ground cable. So there'll be one big ground cable coming in from here, and that's going to be all of our grounds. If we ever have any other grounds that we can just screw into here. But here's the digital Dakota stuff. All nice. He's got the little pins crimped on there, and then all screwed down. So there's a digital Dakota dash, and then that's all tied up, super nice with the loom. Got a little USB charge port there, and of course the stereo stuff he's working on now, but I mean that just plugs in, so that'll be a separate little plug. But it's pretty cool. All these little deals, everything is all nice into one plug. Super clean, super nice. Don't you guys agree? Hey, put in the comments below if you've ever seen anything like this before. It's definitely not something that is normally done. As you can see, when we took all this apart, the last person literally just crammed all this stuff back there. So when we go to put this dash in, we just lay it up in there, stick it in there, and then there's actually a dash pad that goes on top of this. So we put the dash in first, and then just reach down in there and plug a couple of plugs in, and we're finished. So sick. Very nice. Making progress, slowly but surely, one wire at a time. I was working on the air conditioning, which is vintage air. So this little plug right here was actually running back all the way back behind here, and then the wire, which had that little cheap plastic loom on it, kind of wrapped all around here, which is this conglomeration right here. So I don't know if you could tell on the camera, but yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of wire. I mean, this is literally, well, it's just, yeah, so it's 10 feet. It's probably 10 feet long. And it needed to go from here to here. About 3 feet on a good day. So I'm not sure what they were thinking on there. And they also extended this. Well, they have one piece there. So they used an old connector. And then they had one piece here. And one more piece here. So apparently it was too short the first 2 times, so they had to extend it out again. And then if that's not bad, this part's even worse. So this is a 16 gauge wire coming out of this hole right here, which is okay, but there's tons of room back here and a gigantic hole, so I reran it. So they had a 14 gauge wire here, and then it dropped down to a 16 gauge wire here. So you can go 14 to 16 is okay, but you can't go the other way, because if this thing draws too much amperage, it'll start messing with that wire, could possibly fry it, or it's going to be a little bit of a voltage drop, so that's not good. So I reran the wire back there, got it tucked up, and then put the right gauge on here and the right color. It's all light blue now, so those are going to run in. And then I like the non-insulated style, and I put heat shrink on there, and then after I connect it, because I don't have the right connectors, after I connect it down there, I will actually put another piece of heat shrink over the top of it and kind of melt that onto the connector down there, make it nice and clean. So that'll look good, but we got to get all that loomed up first. And then over here, we got blower motor, or the wiper motor. That's hooked up and loomed up nice. And then the alternator, we had to put a 470 ohm resistor in here to ignite or excite the alternator. So that wire is all loomed up. It has a connector right here. And that all matches the loom that they used on the Terminator X. So that's all going down in there, which obviously still has to be all loomed up. So we got a bunch of wires coming out. And then we're going to have another little fuse block. There's actually 2 fuse blocks going in here. And then once that's done and wrapped up, then everything gets loomed. So make it super nice. Let's see what Mike's doing down here. So Mike's getting all the fuse box stuff wired up. He's actually got all the wires going to the fuse box now. We just have to get it going where it's supposed to go. So all those plugs that we did on the dash, we need to put the other plug on these wires. And of course that'll get all tightened up and loomed up. So it's just a process, one wire at a time. Look it up, figure out where it goes, put the ends on it, connect it, and move to the next. So still quite a mess in there, but we're getting there. We're getting it done. So I think we have most of the wires run. So all of this gets loomed up. So it's all going to be basically about this size right here. It's going to be super nice. And then my task is to clean all that up and then fix the stereo. So this is the little plug for the stereo. And you got left and right speakers coming out, which is basically just the 2 wires, positive and negative for the speakers. And they had these little guys, and then they had another speaker down here in the kick panel. So what they did was they split them, right? So for the 2 speakers here, and then took this little mess. We got all kinds of different colors. So we went from white to blue to red and white over here. So they ran this whole entire thing. So what I'm going to do is just put it back to 1 wire, and I will run 1 wire to this speaker, and then I will just pigtail off of this one and run it down to that speaker. So I'll have about 2 feet of wire here, and then this one running back over. So I will eliminate all of this crap. Let me look at the butt connector usage. Very nice. I got about an inch section of wire that they had to add. They couldn't just all put it in there at one time. So 8 butt connectors, all within a span of 3 inches. It's a good use of butt connectors. So yeah, what a mess. So yeah, I'm gonna clean all that up. So I got rid of all these red butt connectors that were on here, and use these little metal butt connectors, non-insulated butt connectors. This one's really tiny because the speaker wire is really small, but we buy these kits that have all these non-insulated terminals in there, and then we buy the kits with the heat shrink. This is good marine grade heat shrink. It has a little wax in it, so when you heat it up, it seals it, makes it waterproof. Not that you really need that inside, but it just makes for a super nice. So this is going to be so much smaller when I tape it all up. You won't even hardly tell that that's in there. So compared to this little mess right here, with all these butt connectors on here, which work, but I don't know, I don't like them. It bugs me. And then this is the other speaker wire I just did. This guy right here. So now it's just one wire coming out, running along all back here, and then hooks up to this speaker, and then I got it pigtailed together, and then this one runs down below here and comes out down here where the kick panel is. You gotta make sure and leave enough room. This is quite a bit, but you want to leave room to be able to pull your component out and actually get back there and disconnect it, so you're not like struggling to get back and try and disconnect it way back in there. Just leave plenty of room. So like I said, this will get all, now this will get all taped up nice, so you can see how much smaller. I mean, remember on the other video how much crap we had back there. It's literally gonna be this small now. I get all that taped on there, and then that'll run all along back there. So, turning out good. Alright, so this is how we do all of our connections. We use these little butt connectors, and we just crimp them on there. These little pliers like this. It has a little hump there in the middle. And we don't use solder, because solder can actually make the connection brittle. If you look at factory little terminals, when they put them on there, they never use solder. If you have that all soldered up, when this bends, it's going to become brittle right here on the end of it, and it can snap off. So the connection like that, it's super strong, and you're going to get plenty of conductivity through there. So put our heat shrink on there first. Don't forget to do that, because you can't get it on later. And then I got smaller wire going into bigger wire. So what I do is I'm gonna fold that over, just kind of double it up like that. And then on speaker wire, you got a positive and a negative, so the negative has the black stripe on it, and then this one's got a stripe. Just line those two up, and oh my gosh, boop. Stick it in the hole. It's in the hole. It's in the hole. You want to comment in the comments on what movie that was from. In there, and give it a good squeeze, a little tug, a little squeeze and tug. These wires are so small, it's hard to work with. There we go. Boop. Alright, so something like that. And then put your heat shrink over it. Just heat her up. Like I said, this is the marine grade stuff. You can get this at Harbor Freight. I ordered this one on Amazon. And then I don't know if you can see the little bit of that glue coming out. Yeah, that's a nice little connection there. Then put one over the top of that. I should have put that on there first. I don't know if I can get it through here. Oh, maybe. So you always got to think 10 steps ahead of the game. There we go. That's gonna work. Especially when you're working with conduit. We have that vinyl conduit. So you got to put conduit on, you got to put heat shrink over it. You got to make your connectors with the 2 heat shrinks on those. Then slide over the conduit, slide over the heat shrink, and then you got to do it on the other end and have it all the right length. And oh my gosh. And then if you have a big old connector on the end and forget any of that process, then you can't get the heat shrink over it. So let's put heat shrink over the whole entire thing. Don't let it slip like that. Keep your heat moving, don't let it sit in one spot because it'll melt that pretty quick. But if you keep it moving. Alright, so there we go. So is that overkill for a speaker wire? Probably. Does it look nice and it's going to last forever? Definitely. So I'm okay with that. So this will go down to the lower speaker on the driver's side. And then I got my little pigtail, so this will go to the upper speaker. And then this is the wire that was in there before that's all taped up, which doesn't matter because I'm going to have it all in the loom anyway. Then I just got to make the connector to the stereo. And that'll be it. Alright, so the dash is going back in. It's just kind of loosely sitting in there for now in case we have to take it out again. But we put it in, kind of test fit everything. You see all that stuff for the digital Dakota. So obviously the dash pad, dash top goes on here, but a few screws, you take that out and you can actually get to all this if you have to. It's kind of nice. But if you look down in there, it's pretty sweet. You got tons of room now. Turned out really good. A little plug system over there. That looks really nice. And plugs right in. Pretty easy to get to. So our next venture is we're kind of I think we're going to leave this loose for now in case it has to come back out. And now we're working on under dash or under the hood stuff. We have one more little fuse box over there, and then all this will get tucked up over the fender liner and behind the fender, so that's going to be all disappearing. And then the computer will go over there after we clean all that up. And then the battery goes over here. We have some more distribution blocks to put out because we need kind of power going everywhere now. So that's the next step. Let's get all this cleaned up. So we've got most of the dash pretty much buttoned up, and now we're working on the engine compartment. We had a bunch of wires that we came out of this little hole down here, and this all has to get loomed up. This wire here went to the heater control valve for the vintage air that was already installed. So it was all taped up, and I wanted to see what was under the tape, and we got speaker wire, which it's not the end of the world, but it's just wrong. Even though this is going to be all covered up, I just can't find myself to leave that in there. A little chunk of speaker wire. So I went into my little stash and found the right size green and reds, so I can hook up the green and red and extend it and actually hook up the right colors and just make it nice. So this ground was just screwed in somewhere randomly, so we'll run this up. We're gonna have a nice ground bar, a bus bar, full of a bunch of grounds that we're using this cable for. So once we get the fender liner put in there, the bus bars will be up there and we can run power and grounds to all kinds of different stuff instead of just having it stuck all over the place on this car. So that'll be nice. But yeah, can't leave it. Ain't doing it. Come too far. So we're gonna fix that.
Down position here.
Say good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Day 7.
Day 7.
Getting tired. We're
Getting tired? I was tired at day 2. Alright, so this is where we're at. We may get this done today. So he has created himself a little power distribution block down yonder. We got circuit breakers and a little power bus. And of course this is the relay and fuses over here. Air cleaner goes right here, so it kind of hides all that, but it turned out really cool. Looks neat. You can see a lot of wires running over there. And we got the computer fixated where it's going to go. And some more relays and fuses over there. And then the liner goes up over there and covers most of that up. And now we just got to keep looming. We got this wire right here that we got loomed up. And then these guys got to get loomed up. And then we got power and ground distribution going on over here. So we got a little bit to do. It's actually looking pretty good though. Yeah, day 7. We are beat. We got ourselves a little mess under the car there. There's little chunks of wire and heat shrink and tape and bits and pieces everywhere. But that's okay. That's what it takes. You got to make a mess before you can get it clean. Yeah. So we got to slap the back seat in still and the front seat and kick panel, a couple little trim pieces, but yeah, that's all done. And all that works. So we've been testing stuff. We have stereo and lights and everything's working, so we're proving out as we go. That kind of sucks to have everything completely buttoned up and then one little thing doesn't work, so we're getting there. Coming down to the final stages. Getting ready to put the fender liner back in. We got the computer tucked up in there. All the wires are all loomed up. So many wires, hard to make look super nice, but it's pretty good. They had the harness going way up in there before, so you can totally see it when you open the hood. We have it all running down below, which looks pretty nice. So we got this big old mess over here. So once we get the fender liner in, then we can bolt the tray down, put the other distribution block up here, and then this stuff all disappears and goes away. That's the next step. Look at us go. Well, we are pretty much done with the wiring. We still have to do the programming for the computer, but it's all done, tucked away, nice. And we got a dual feed battery, top post and side post. So the side post ran the power and ground that did it before to the starter and stuff. And then these power and grounds go down in there. You can see a little distribution block. So there's one for power and one for ground. So now we got all the little grounds screwed to those. Have a breaker down there. And then that goes across here. This is all super clean. Horns all loomed up, nice and clean. And then I made this really nice air cleaner lid for it. Little Zeus tabs. And then we have another power distribution block over here. Relays, fuses, all the power and ground that we need. And then 2 more breakers down here. One's for the amp and then one goes to the inside. So we got plenty of protection And the air cleaner tube, radiator tube that I made before are all on there finally. Yeah, it looks super sick. Real clean. All we got to do now is put a couple things in the interior, but we're gonna get it programmed, get the Holley programmed, and see if this thing will fire. All right, so we just went through the process. Oh, turn the key back on, please. We just went through the process of downloading the info on the Terminator X. It's actually pretty simple. You just go to this wizard right here, and it just asks you some basic questions. Engine size, cam size, transmission, blah, blah, blah. Super easy to go through. Now it should literally be ready to start. Let's see, we still have some things we have to button up, but to the point I think we can, oh, I guess I'm ready, let's go. Oh, cow. Wow, that was easy. Let's hear it for Holley, huh? I don't even know how to use this thing. Oh, there we go. Ha! You guys see that? So we got, I mean, it's on, I don't even know if it's on learn mode. We have to figure that part out. But air fuel ratio is right where it's supposed to be. And timing is 12, that's pretty good. TPS is 0, volts are at 14, so it is charging. Oh my gosh, dude, this is sick. I can't believe how easy it started. You know, you have those startup videos. This one really worked. Wow, that's amazing. And all the dash gauges, those seem to be working. RPM's working. It's working. Everything works. We're amazing. So sick. Wait, let me go out here. Sorry for the fan, I forgot to shut it off. Yeah. Everything's good. Purrs like a kitten. Yep, headlights. High beam. Yep. Turn signals. That's drivers. Passenger. Yeah. And we got some tail lights on. Well, that's what one entire week, every day gets you. Yeah, brake lights are working. Right side, left side. Horn. Yeah. It's a little burbly, but it's going to learn itself. All right. Well, we got to finish button up a few things. Dash pad's got to go on, some interior parts, and the seat. But this is a huge, momentous occasion. He's a runner. Two men, 150 hours, and one badass Chevelle. This is what we pulled out of that car. Kept saying how nice this car was when we first started on it, which it is. And then we got to the wiring. I mean, kudos to the guys that put this in, but holy crap, that's a lot. This is for a modern car with electronics. We don't need all this. I kept saying it's from a GTO, but it's actually a Firebird. So the computer's there. That's the engine harness. And then all this stuff was under the dash and just absolutely packed in there. Plus the vintage air with the tubes for the ducts. I mean, it was jam-packed. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, took all that out. Probably take it down and sell the copper and make another couple $100 profit. But Monday to Monday, we worked 15 hours on it yesterday and damn near the same on Saturday. That was a lot of work, but we got it done. We still have to drive it and do some programming on the speedometer and just make sure that all the systems work. But yeah, we're pretty much done. So I'll shoot some video with us test driving it, and that should be coming up pretty soon. All right, here we go on our maiden voyage. We didn't put the dash pad back on. We're still making sure everything's good, but AC works. And we are attempting to calibrate the speedometer. We have to go exactly 1 mile. So, looks like it's running. It's a pretty good shift right there. 0.1 mile. That's not counting the posts. Oh, sounds good. Runs good. 0.3 miles. There she is. Gotta wipe her down and figure out the speedometer. It ain't working yet. You like that test drive?
That's nice. She's a good runner.
Actually, it ran pretty good without being tuned.
Yeah.
Just the base map. Ah, it's a good looking car. So the good thing is the fans are working. They kick on and off with the air conditioning, and I mean, literally everything works. All we have to do is figure out the speedometer right now. That should be pretty easy, just part of the programming. Shut this thing off. Everything shuts off. That's a good sign. We've had cars that we kind of didn't wire right. And we had one car that the fan actually kept the vehicle on because the fan was generating a voltage, and it was backfeeding, actually keeping the vehicle on. But it's kind of crazy. Alrighty, that's it. We are done.
Amen.
What do you think, brother?
I think that was 150 hours.
Oh my
150 man hours anyway. 8 days. And
Bro,
that's a marathon.
That's crazy.
Crazy marathon.
That's a rock roll team right there.
Right there, buddy. Knuckle pound it up.
Hiya.
That's hard work.
Yeah, we legitimately put 150 hours in this thing. We've been working since Monday last week, and now it's Monday of the next week, and we just drove it for the final time. Everything works absolutely perfectly. This thing's got cruise control, air conditioning, digital decoder. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff in it. The radiator tubes, intake tube, all that stuff turned out nice. We surprised him with this little thing. He hasn't even seen it yet. We haven't told him about it, which turned out really nice. All the electrical tucked away, hidden. And obviously, we showed you what we took out of it. Just absolutely insane. But this car is phenomenal. I'd love to have this thing. So pretty. Polished her up a little bit, got all the fingerprints off of it. We just, it's got door locks in it. We just calibrated the speedometer. All that's working good. And we managed to do all this without scratching it. Look at the paint on this thing, it's incredible. They even cut and buffed underneath the trunk lid and the hood. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. But that's it. We are Dunsky. So once again, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate that. And any comments we would appreciate. Stuff you like, stuff maybe you didn't like. Any questions you have. And I will try and get back to you on that. I'm kind of lacking in that because I really don't get a lot of comments. But I'll answer any questions that you guys got. Thanks for joining us. Alright, customers here, he saw all the work we did. Michael's taking him for a little test drive, showing how everything works. And that'll be the end of that. Say goodbye to the pretty car. That'll buff out.